Jeffrey, did you ever notice if Rex treated the women around you differently in the workplace?
Well, I could speak to like my interaction with Rex, and that was with my client and another colleague as we were trying to sell a property that he was the architect on. And it got a little contentious with him and the man initially. And then at one point, because there was so much confrontation between the two of them, um, my client that knew Rex well, and I met Rex as well, um, he was becoming a completely different person, is what she told me. She was a little bit taken aback by how aggressive he was. Now, granted, there was some complications with this transaction and kind of made it a little bit more of a challenge. But, the fact that he wanted things done a certain way, and if you didn't follow in line, he would, let it be known that he was upset about it. And so, just to go back to your previous question, looking at that, all the details in the indictment and him being so meticulous, we got to remember this is one of the top architects in the country. Quite frankly, he's a top commercial and residential architect, and if that's a microcosm of him wanting things done his way, I can see, and this may be a bit of a stretch now, but in retrospect, I can see him having like specific details on what to do to make sure that he doesn't leave any evidence behind. So I'm not surprised by that, to be honest.
Did you ever have a weird feeling from him, Jeffrey, ever? Like just anything? Did anything stand out where it was just awkward, uncomfortable, or unpleasant?
Yeah, I would say that the interaction, because we had to get some permits, and I don't want to get too much into the minutia of like the whole real estate transaction, but we had to get some permits approved, and he had to do extra work. And if anyone was questioning what he was doing, he made it. He was very upset about it. So much so to the point that I remember my client said, "I'm not talking to Rex ever again. I'm done with Rex." And it was that she thought was really odd, as well as the fact that when you're trying to sell a property, the likelihood of the architect wanting to purchase the property from the client, that never happens. And he was adamant about, I want to buy it, I want to buy it. And so now you could put a lot of different pieces together and maybe have some thoughts on what he could have been considering doing with the property. But nonetheless, that to both of us, both my client and myself, that was a red flag. Like, why is this guy all of a sudden want to buy this property? So that was a little bit bizarre. A little bit bizarre.
Mary, talk to me a little bit about the kinds of people he hired around the office, and certainly with the perspective and the lens you look through now, whether things are starting to make a little more sense.
He certainly hired a lot of women. Most of the staff were women, and I know myself, other colleagues. We it's like we might be newer to the industry, we might have been younger, or just having less professional experience, and I think that helped him maintain a certain power dynamic. Where he is training you, he's signing your paychecks, he's in charge, he's the boss, and I'm sure I'm sure that it really kind of inflated his ego as well.
I think I read somewhere that he mostly staffed women who were small, petite. Is that true?
There were at least 3 or 4 of us that I would put in that category. Yeah, I mean, that was a thing.
It was a thing. Well, in the documents, go ahead, Jeffrey.
Sorry, I'll just say this, that when we were ultimately about to close on this property, there was a woman that kind of fit that criteria, one of the attorneys, one of the associates there. And she had to speak to Rex directly because he needed some final payment that was done. And he was very, very aggressive. And just to go back to your question about how did he treat men differently from women, and she was so uncomfortable that she did not want to be in the office alone when he came back to pick up this check. And so the partner of the firm was, that's fine, I will be there. And then I guess he must have sensed something, because Rex then came to their office with his daughter to maybe try to, deflate the tension that was there. But it was a very odd feeling from her, and she communicated that to me directly. And now, in retrospect, she told me that.
Fascinating. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.